Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you. From Yahuwah the Father and Yahusha our Mashiach, his Son. Hear, O Yasharal. Yahuwah our Mighty One is one Yahuwah. This is Brother David coming to you again to bring you the law, statutes, judgments, and commandments of Yahuwah. And we're starting today from Deuteronomy chapter 28. This is part 2. And we're checking out the curses. Now, in the beginning, I'd said that I was going to make 1 or 2 parts for this Deuteronomy 28. I found that the curses are too extensive. So I may need about 5, maybe even 6 parts to finish just the curses. We really messed up this time. As we go through this study, we will see that the land, the animals, the air, the sky have all been cursed because of our transgressions of the Mighty One's law. Let's just begin. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahuwah thy Mighty One, here we go, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Remember how the blessings chased us down in the beginning? And how they were faster than we were? Even if you tried to get away from them, they still will overtake you. It's the same way as the curses. If you do according to what Yahuwah says, the blessings will overtake you. But if you refuse to hearken unto the voice of Yahuwah and observe to do all the commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day, he said, all these curses will come upon you, and they will overtake you. Verse 16, cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Do you remember in the blessings how we were living in a 45 million high-rise apartment in the middle of the best of locations? This has become our reality because we did not hearken unto the voice of our Mighty One. Now the Israelites, the Yasharalites, are cursed in the city. We're also cursed in the field. We'll plant vineyards and plant fields of wheat and corn, and the locusts will come in and eat it and destroy your crops. You won't be able to stop the cankerworm and the palmer worm. Everything you put your hand to will be cursed. Your fields, they will dry out. Yahuwah will shut up his treasures from heaven. When before, in the blessings, remember, you didn't have enough tractors to till the field or to bring in the harvest. You didn't have enough room in the storehouse to store all of your grain. But because you did not hearken unto the voice of Yahuwah, cursed shall be your fields. Verse 17, cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Remember the basket before? It was beautiful, had those little ugly fruits, the most expensive fruits on the market. And you had all types of dainties, pomegranates, things that are so exotic you were bringing forth from your fields. Now your fields will be diseased. Your fruit, your basket, your store shall be cursed. Are you going to present this to the Levites? Are you going to present this to Yahuwah? I think not. Verse 18, cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. Black children are an endangered species. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body. You would think in your mind that these children have done nothing wrong to deserve this. But because our lineage is cursed, the fruit of our loins is cursed. Even the ones that are innocent, that know nothing, seen nothing, have not even breathed the breath of life, they shall be cursed. Abortion kills over 1,000 babies every day in the United States of America. Is that all babies? It says black babies every day. I read another report that it was 1,800 per day. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body. What about the fruit of thy land? It shall be diseased, full of mold. The elements shall destroy it. The cankerworm, the palmer worm, the locust. Cursed are the flocks of thy sheep. There should be raids on your flocks, where wild animals will come in and kill them. Disease will come upon them because everything that we own is cursed. You see what you did to me? Do you see what you did to my ancestors? Because you refused to keep the Father's commandments, we were cursed right alongside of you. Our water is cursed. The land is cursed. Wild animals are consuming us. All because of you, Israelites, Yasharalites, the children of Jacob. Verse 19. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. Instead of you coming into a mansion, with the railings on the top of your house to protect you from innocent blood, you have been demoted. You once ruled the world, but now you're demoted to this, the slums. Houses that are deteriorating. They're really junk. They should all be torn down and condemned. Cursed shall you be when you come in. Cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. You won't be driving a Bentley anymore to go into your cornfields to check on the workers, because the cornfields shall be gone. They shall be annihilated. Instead, this shall be your habitation. Sleeping on the streets, your Bentley is turned into a shopping cart. And still you'll keep the remnants of the worship of false gods, the Queen of Heaven. You see the picture there in the cart? This is why we are cursed, brothers and sisters. Worshipping gods of wood and stone. This is our habitation today, because we did not hearken unto the voice of our Mighty One. Verse 20. Yahuwah shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, in all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings. Wickedness is transgressing the law of the Mighty One. Anytime you want to see what a wicked person looks like, just go to church. They do not keep the Father's commandments. They have that look of righteousness, but they deny the power thereof. Do you know what the power is? These laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments. They will make you into a superhuman, or you will fall into being the lowest of the low on the planet if you refuse to keep these commandments, whereby thou hast forsaken me. Because you have forsaken him, he has no choice but to forsake you. He would not be righteous. He would not be truthful. He would be a liar if he didn't bring these curses upon you because you transgressed the Father's law. Whatever your ancestors did, it also falls upon you. Verse 21, Yahuwah shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. Verse 22, Yahuwah shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. Just like the blessings pursued thee for keeping the commandments, these curses will pursue you for not hearkening unto his voice. Diabetes is 60% more common in Black Americans than in white Americans. Blacks are up to 2.5 times more likely to suffer a limb amputation and up to 5.6 times more likely to suffer kidney disease than other people with diabetes. African Americans are 3 times more likely to die of asthma than white Americans. Remember what the passage just said. These things are going to pursue thee until you perish off the land. Even in the lands of your captivity, they shall pursue thee. Deaths from lung scarring, sarcoidosis, are 16 times more common among blacks than among whites. The disease recently killed former NFL star Reggie White at age 43. Despite lower tobacco exposure, Black men are 50% more likely than white men to get lung cancer. How is that? We're not even smoking cigarettes. We're not even exposed to secondhand smoke the way that they are. But yet we're 50 times more likely than white men to get lung cancer? Strokes kill 4 times more 35 to 54-year-old Black Americans than white Americans. Blacks have nearly twice the first-time stroke risk of whites. Blacks develop high blood pressure earlier in life and with much higher blood pressure levels than whites. Nearly 40%, 42% of Black men and more than 45% of Black women aged 20 and older have high blood pressure. Cancer treatment is equally successful for all races. Yet, Black men have a 40% higher cancer death rate than white men. African American women have a 20% higher cancer death rate than white women. Look what he has on the bottom. Why? Now, whoever put this together, they ask questions just like me. Genes definitely play a role. So does the environment in which people live, socioeconomic status, and yes, racism, says Clyde W. Yancey, MD, Associate Dean of Clinical Affairs and Medical Director for Heart Failure, Transplantation at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center. DNA, brothers and sisters, genes. I told you before, every time we look at these reports, we see that there is something about us that is totally different from them. Our DNA is the DNA that Yahuwah put on this earth. He created us from the earth. He blew the breath of life in us, and we became a living soul. The Europeans, on the other hand, come from the seed of the fallen angels. That's why their melanin has been stripped from them. The two species were not supposed to come together. So remember, it's because you are different than they. You cannot do the same things as they do. Look what it says next. The environment. You weren't created to live in this type of environment. You were created to live off the earth, soak up the sun, be around plants and animals, because that's who we are. We used to be in harmony with nature, but we have been cursed and demoted to live in this environment, this polluted environment, socio-economic status. You don't make the same money that they do, so therefore you can't afford real food, can you? The food that you get from Walmart, from Publix, the BOGOs and those sales that they have, they're all genetically modified organisms. Have you ever seen the commercial on Witchcraft 2, television, about Whole Foods? They tell you on their commercial, we sell real food. Because they have non-GMO, not genetically modified. But your Publix, they have a few non-GMO items, and so does Walmart. But mostly, they sell genetically modified organisms. What happens if you can only afford the cheapest foods? All of the sicknesses that they just told you is going to come upon you. You were not created to even eat the stuff that these Europeans eat. Why do you think the Father gave us dietary laws? Don't eat pork. Don't eat shellfish. Don't eat shrimp. Don't eat lobster. None of these things line up with your physiology or your DNA. It will clog your arteries, and the next thing you know, you will die. You are selenium-based. Europeans are sulfur-based. The sulfur probably burns that stuff up. They still get affected, but not at the rate that you do. And yes, racism. The reason you can't afford to buy real food is because of the Europeans' racist behavior. Now, let me show you what the Europeans do. And this is for all of you who study on a constant basis. You have to learn when you're reading commentaries, when you're studying, if you go to Strong's Concordance, Blue Letter Bible, any reference that the Europeans have made, you have to learn how to chew the meat and spit out the fat. Because the Europeans will tell you a partial truth, then they come with a lie. Look at the lie in the last paragraph. Yancey says that all humans have the same physiology. He's telling the truth. Humans, those who have a hue, those who have been created from the earth, but not the Europeans. They're trying to say that they are humans, even though they come from another species, and they know this now, are vulnerable to the same illnesses. Isn't that a lie? What are the illnesses that black people get that white people don't get? There's quite a few of them, brothers and sisters. And there's a lot of illnesses that white people get that was unknown to us until they brought us into their environment and respond to the same medicines. That's a lie from the pits of hell. If a black person takes high blood pressure medicine, do you know it destroys your kidneys and it destroys your organs? All you have to do is go to the dialysis center and you'll see who the number one people who are sitting up there in those chairs. Because they're taking this high blood pressure medicine, it does not bind with our physiology. Remember, we are different. Naturally, diseases and responses to treatment do vary from person to person. He told the truth. But he says they are unique issues that affect black Americans. Now he's telling you that we are totally different from everyone else. He just told you, unique, different issues that affect us than everyone else. What could that be? DNA, brothers and sisters. Remember, you were brought here in ships. You were not a part of them, their culture, or come from them. You were brought here to suffer the curses. And all of these curses have come upon us because we would not hearken unto the voice of Yahuwah. Verse 23, and thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thy feet shall be iron. Verse 24, we've seen that, didn't we? The rains were shut up, and the earth were dried out. Verse 24, Yahuwah shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thy be destroyed. Do you see the land was cursed right alongside of you? Do you think that any men can lift this curse? The only ones who can lift the curse off of us and off the land which is connected to us is Yahuwah. They can try all of the things that they want to. Irrigation, trying to bring in all types of new technology to grow their crops. But the elements will still remain the same because the children of Yasharal have not returned yet. CleanTechnica.com. Rainfall levels in the Middle East fell to nearly 1/5 of modern levels around 120,000 years ago. So it's 1/5 the level that it was 120,000 years ago. How they came up with this, I don't know. And again, around 10,000 years ago. According to new research, to put that in different terms, the Middle East at those times experienced a degree of drought that hasn't been seen in modern or historical times in the region. Look at what they're talking about, 120,000 years and 10,000 years. Adam and Eve were put in the garden about 6,000 years. So this is after all of this. And we know that the garden is in the promised land because the Father says that it's going to be like a Garden of Eden again. So I truly believe that that Garden of Eden is in that promised land. And if people tell you that the Garden of Eden is in Africa, the promised land is in Africa, Northeast Africa. So it's not too far off, brothers and sisters. Look at this. The research is notable since the region is currently drying out again. They're not giving you how long it's been drying out, but we've been gone now for over 2,000 years. In concert with rising temperatures, the new research thus represents a cautionary tale about where things are headed in the region. Where will the region's substantial population head as a result of the coming changes? No rain. How are you going to get this irrigation to work? What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? Do you see what's going on there? The temperatures are rising, brothers and sisters. It's becoming more parched. The people who are living there, they're not you. Yahweh didn't open up his treasures from heaven to bless them. Doesn't this tell you something? Can you not see that the people there are imposters? This is why they've added a 13th month to this year, because they're not able to bring the harvest in its due season. Because Yahuwah has shut up the heavens, the land is cursed, because we are still in exile, and it will not change until we have returned. All the observations show this region is one of the most affected by modern climate change. Oh, you know something? I think I have to read this again. All the observations show this region is one of those most affected by modern climate change. The promised land. And it's predicted to get drier. What we showed is that even under natural conditions, it can become much drier than predicted by any of our models. Commented lead author Yael Kiro, a geochemist at Columbia University's Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory. You are the children of Yasharal. The land is cursed because of you. If you don't return to Yahuwah, the curse will not be lifted. What is it? 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. If my people who are called by my name, if they will just humble themselves and pray, we won't get down on our knees and pray and ask the Father for forgiveness, for wisdom, to bring us back into the land, and seek my face. Not just read the Bible. You have to seek him with all your heart, all of your mind, and all of your soul, and turn from their wicked ways. Wickedness is transgression of the law. Righteousness is keeping the law. So you have to learn how to keep this law. This is why we're going through the commandments. This is why we're spending so much time on it, so that you can see everything is connected to you. He says, then will they hear from heaven. All of those procedures must be met first. Then he says he'll forgive our sins and he will heal the land. It will not happen until the children of Yasharal have returned. Here's a video I want you to see. This proves that they're not the children of Yasharal also. This is what they have to go through there. Remember, when you're an imposter, you don't get the benefits of the promises. They're not getting any of the promises. They're making this stuff happen on their own with technology, but you can't stop the heavens. Remember, the Father says the rain of thy land shall be powder and dust. Go here. Watch this video. It's only 1 minute and 20 seconds so that you can see that the Father has not blessed these people. If they're in the land and they're not blessed and all of the promises have not been applied to them, then you know that they are not the children of Yasharal. Desert floods in Saudi Arabia. Is this biblical? And this was November 18th, 2018. Now I want you to see this one too. This one is 1 minute and 35 seconds. That's it. Do you know the desert in Saudi Arabia was flooded this year? What did the Father do? Instead of watering all the lands where irrigation and everything comes in, he watered the desert. All of the rain that was supposed to go to the region came here instead. We're living in the last days, brothers and sisters. The Father is preparing the land for our return. It's going to be very soon. It's going to sprout. It's going to be like a Garden of Eden. It's going to be beautiful. Why do you have your sights on living here in America, in this land of wickedness? Change your mind. Change your attitude. We have to work together to lift this curse. We have to tell all of our brothers and sisters, this 400-year period is up. He could return at any moment to gather his people. You have to be ready. Continue to part 3. Shalom.